Hey, what's up, guys? It's T-Bone here, and welcome back to another episode of playing Legendary Game of Heroes. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about two things. One, we're going to talk about the upcoming event called War for the Skies. So, we're going to obviously take a look at the cards, and we're going to see what we can do to mix and match to make an effective team. And then we're going to also talk about some of the updates for the game, because there's actually quite a bit now, and I want to cover them here. Now, before we go for any further, you don't see it here, but there's a Head Start pack. If you have not yet, make sure you go and pick up the free 50 levels for this event. All commander events will benefit from getting the 50 free levels. You skip 50 bosses, and it saves you a lot of time to get a higher trophy count. But if you're just starting out and you don't quite have the team yet to deal a lot of damage, then I would save the 500 gems to get the additional 50 levels until you're ready to do so. But definitely get the free one since it's available, and you can get more trophies for less keys. And so definitely give that a try. So now let's go in and take a look at the cards themselves. There's a few things that are different about this event deck. There are things that are very similar, but at the same time, there are some changes here. And let's talk about those. So Thuella the Sky Child is the event card. Now you can see it's a warrior type card, but it's also a human and elf class. And so now this is one of the few cards that has multiple classes. There are some in the past, but this is the first time in a while that they have done this. It's also introducing a new class, which is elf. So this will open up in the future. I'm expecting more elf type cards, and this means that multiple cards can now power up each other. I'm hoping that more cards come out with multiple classes. I think that's a good thing. So let's see what this card does. It is a nuke card, right? So it will attack for 10,000% attack and 10,000% more for every 25 human intensity. So it is powered by humans. And this is very similar, or actually this is the same stat as Brari, which was the previous fire commander hero. If at least one light power gem 2 is on the board, the damage is triple. So the wording is a little different, but it basically attacks 3 times as long as a light power gem 2 is on the board. Now this may be a little different. We'll take a look at the Brari in the conditions for when it gets tripled, but we can take a look at that later. The passive skill is the same as the similar revive skills that most event cards have now, but the wording, once again, is a little different. So let's read this. Once per battle, instead of dying, survive. So the keyword here is survive. It may sound like it's different than revive, and the question is, will this not be impacted by the flatline skill of the wardens? And the answer is this will. So the mechanic is that you will, instead of dying, you will continue to stay alive. That in itself is a revive, and flatline does prevent that. So just wanted to clear that up. And the second difference for the passive here is typically the revive skills will always give you health back as well as increased attack, but instead you're now going to be generating light power gems based on intensity. So this is yet another feature card now that does generate power gems. For those of you who may have cards that are who don't have cards that can generate that, this is another way to get you some more damage. You won't get the health back, but we'll talk about how to overcome that challenge. Now let's take a look at the other cards here. So we'll take a look at the support card, or saying Rocket Goblin. Again, this is a multi-class card, and this is both human and goblin. Goblin is not a new class, but we don't yet have any relics for it. So this is going to be a relic that will boost human, I imagine, although there is something different for the name of the relic that's come out this week, so I'm curious to see what that is like. And so there's a couple of things I'm also going to talk about here. You'll notice that the base damage here at level 1 is actually lower. We'll go ahead and take a look at the newsfeed later, but they've lowered the attack on purpose because this card can be awakened up to 10 times, and you're going to be able to get more cards in the pack this week. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. I just want to call that out now. So this card is really good. This is going to be I believe, one of the better cards for any free-to-play players out there who have just been struggling to find cards that can generate power gems, because this card will create power gems. Now, there was a card before, which is Thuella, that will create power gems as a support card, but it didn't always create the gem of its own affinity. Whereas this one, you'll give you 10 human intensity, and it creates 2 light power gem 1s. And if there is at least a power gem 2 on the board, it'll create an additional power gem. So you're looking at 3 power gems here. And then there's a passive here where every third match hit, Orison creates 1 light power gem 2. So if you just attack 3 times, you're automatically going to generate a light power gem 2. And then when you activate a battle skill, you're going to create 3 more power gems. So just by a single support card, you can create up to 4 power gems, which is huge, right? So imagine that this is a card that you can already get for free by playing in the event, and they're also introducing ways for you to get more of these cards. I think just by having a couple of these cards, you can already do well in the event without actually making a lot of investment. So this is a card that I think I'm really happy to see because it gives you more options here. And now let's take a look here. So now I think the counter skill is less important now that the Aegis has been introduced for your guild bosses, but we will see what those bosses will be like when the event starts. So those are the two main cards there, and then you can take a look at the ultra rare, which is Oglyph the Bomber Baron. Again, it's a human goblin type card. This particular card will destroy all non-light gems, so it doesn't have any dependencies on intensity, and it will actually create a light power gem for every 10 gems destroyed, and I believe at 6 stars it'll create power gems for every 5 gems destroyed. So again, this is the same mechanic as the previous fire deck. The passive here is if there's at least 5 light power gem 2s on the board, mimic the battle skill upon cast. So they've removed the 50% chance from the previous time, and now this is a guarantee as long as there is 5 power gem 2s. And so I think that overall this is just a tweak and an improvement upon the previous deck that had a very similar mechanic, and now what you're seeing here is the updated version of this. Luminous Gadget. This is just a pure light human card, and this is the Master Collection card. So you can see it destroys all non-light gems. For every 5 gems destroyed, creates 1 light power gem 3. And then the passive here is if there's at least 2 light power gem 2 on the board, mimic the battle skills. So it has a much lower requirement. I'm not sure if the ultra rare has the same thing at 6 stars, but it's not a bad requirement to have, just 2 light power gems, because given that the support card will create a light power gem every 3 hits, you can easily get light power gem 2s on the board and then use this skill to then create more. So this is the full deck here. I think that, personally, I'm just really excited about the fact that you have this now that you can add to your arsenal. We'll take a look now at the news feed because there's some really relevant information here. Now, the first thing I mentioned is that it's going to be the first card that you can awaken to 10 times. So they're introducing this. They're really trying to encourage people to try this card out. And so what they're saying is, if you would like to awaken them, you can awaken more than 5 times. You can go up to 10 times. But because of that, what they're going to do is they're reducing the overall damage a little bit to account for that. And so the way to think about it is, if you awaken the event card, the support card 1 time or maybe twice, you'll get about the same damage as what you get in the normal hero. And then if you go up further, then you're actually going to boost up more damage than you can typically. So the math works out so that if you go all the way, you'll definitely get more damage. And if you're not really interested in doing any awakening, just getting the cards themselves, I think, is still good enough. So there are a couple of things. One, you can take a look at the news feed here, but some highlights I want to call out is in the past, you're always guaranteed a 3-star card at tier 2. They've now added it to tier 3, 4, 5, and 7. And so that means you can get up to 10 cards through this method as a guarantee. And so I would say pick up at least 1 or 2, right? If go for the free one and go up to tier 2 just to get the second free card. I mean, those are basically free power gems, and if you get up to 3 or even 4, you're going to get close to filling up the board or half the board with power gems, which is really the way to get more damage. And Additional things is you're going to be able to get rewards to help you create guild versus guild hammers. And so you can also, you can get the impenetrable shield, nature's bulwark, emerald shield, and titan shield. So these are things that we're gonna take a look at when the event starts. So they're helping also with the guild versus guild updates, and that's something you can earn just by playing. And then the couple other things here. One is they've also introduced a buyback option. So in the past, if you've ever dusted something, where if you had a card, you dusted it 4-star or 3-star, and you want to get it back for something, you now have the option to do so, and I can show you how this is going to work. They introduced relics, so if you're at a relic space, they've added another 20 in there. And here is the luck counter. So this was something that we talked about in the previous event, and really there's a lot of questions on how does this actually work and how do you know how many there are. So they've now added a counter to it so that you can actually keep track. So the cutoff is 17. So if you pull cards, if you pull 17 random cards and none of them are ultra rares, the very next card that you get is guaranteed to be a ultra rare, and that includes if you in situations where you pull the pack and there are multiple heroes that you pull and you happen to hit 17 in one of the cards that come up, the very next card within the same pack will be a guarantee to be an ultra rare, and there's a counter to help you with that. So it's just something to keep in mind, to think about. If you are going to go for a UR, the ultra rare, at least there's a way for you to see where you are with your luck. Keep in mind it does reset, so it does not carry over pack to pack or ultra rare to ultra rare. They've also reduced the notification, and this one is a big one. Guild versus guild now, you don't have to worry about waiting if you have 149 kills and just wait until everybody else has a hit and then take them out. If you're in a guild that consistently have to do that, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can now go ahead and take everybody out, get 150 wins, and any surplus, anybody who hasn't hit, will actually get their tokens at the end of the fight. We did this today, so once the guild versus guild for the day was over, I actually received the tokens for it. Right, and so that's a really big, a really good change for a lot of guilds that have been just waiting for this feature. So this is a good thing. Let's see here, and the sweepstakes is now over. So best of luck to everybody. Hopefully you win that. Now, I said I was going to show you the mechanics here of buyback, and we'll do that. And afterwards, we're gonna do a quick mix and match to see what decks we can use. So if you go in here. If you go into the codex, and if you look at any cards here, so I've dusted a Dojin here. So if you go in here, you now can see an option to buy back for dust. This only applies if you don't currently have this card in your collection, and you can only buy back the card up to the level that you dusted at. So you notice that I can't actually pick up a Dojin at 6 stars because I never actually evolves into 6 stars. So that's the mechanic here. That's how this works. All right, now let's go and take a look at the cards. So there's a couple cards, couple ideas I've come up with. So the first one is, you don't always have to use the light team, but if you wanted to use a different affinity using the previous event, I would actually try going with the team using Thuella. So keep in mind, Thuella will create power gems, but it's an off affinity. So if you're fighting against light, that means it's going to, if you're fighting against a dark boss, that means it's going to create light gems. So then you really need Domi to convert the gems for you. And I'm kind of torn, but right now I added Barari in there, just because it's part of the deck and it gives me revive. But you can see here Barari also has the same attack, 10,000% attack, and additional for every 25 creature intensity. And this one is a little different, where the attack is tripled only when Thuella's Firestorm is active, whereas Thuella's ability will actually triple as long as there's at least one power gem, fire gem, light power gem too. So it's a little easier to do. So in this situation, I think that adding another Domi might actually be more beneficial. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And now if you don't have 3 Thuellas, I think that just go ahead and add another Domi if you can, or replace Thuella with another fire warrior card, or if you want a Barari to help with survivability, that's okay too. But I think that this is a very viable deck right here. I'm also going to be running my Mystic one. What I will probably do though is I will probably take out one of these cards for a Guru Pachecept. I don't know if I have right here. So this is another idea here where you can use 2 Ofras. If you have a Harun, put him in there, and then use 2 Pachecept here. I actually showed this in the previous video. I think this is still viable for this event. So give that a try and see if that works out. Now, support card ideas. These are some of the cards I think would go well with the current event deck. And Solus is a great card to have in this situation because he is a light, or it's a light card that also boosts all light warrior heroes. So you notice that the event card and the support card are both light cards. So light warrior cards, so this will also will boost it. And if you were to include Thuella in there and you have a revive, you can then use Solus's battle skill to fully heal and then increase the number of turns, basically delay the turn by 2 turns. So after you get after you lose all of your health, you will revive with 0 health, but you'll have a bunch of power gems, and then what you can do is heal with Solus and then do your attack, and then you still have 2 more turns to power up and do additional attacks. So this is a really good card to have in this situation. Another card that does the same thing is Lady Aegisthus. So if you don't have Solus, but you do have Lady Aegisthus, that would be something you can use, although that would be it's a less ideal setup. Indale is a really good card that we've been waiting for to be either a commander or slayer, but it generates 10 gems, and it has a 0 turn cooldown. So if you're able to run 2 of them, so if you run 2 Indales with I would go for 3. I would go for 3 of the event free support card, the free goblins there, just to get a bunch of power gems, and then fill out the rest of the board with light gems, and you can just kind of rinse and repeat. Health is going to be a problem though if you run that situation. So Aladdin's always a good card to have. It's really a staple. I would say this is one of those staple cards that you should always have, and you can actually get him in a dust shop for 100 dust. So if you're looking for Aladdin and you do have some dust to spare, you can try and get them there. Morte Thronos, again, this is another card that I'm featuring, even though it's a Slayer card. It's also a gem destroyer, so it just doesn't create the power gems for you, but it does destroy non-life gems for you, and it creates power gems every time there's a debuff cast. In a in a commander situation, you're going to get the debuff every single turn, so you're going to create light power gem 3 every single turn. It also heals whenever you use the battle skill every 3 turns, and so you cleanse all the debuff, you heal for 300% for every gem that you destroy, 15 guaranteed, plus 3 for every 30 demigod intensity. And so this is a really good card to have, just to help out as well. And then finally, if you have none of these other cards, but you do have Summoner Camilla, which was the card that was part of that deck with Thronos, it is also a light gem spawner, and it destroys 4 dark gems. So that is a card that you can have if you're looking for something there. So that's sort of the ideas I have. And finally, this is what I was talking about. Use Solus as a leader, and then put fill in the blank with at least 2. I would say at least 2 of the support card, and then the third one could be Thuella, the feature card, or another support card. Now, I think what I might want to do is go into a campaign. Let's go to a light one, and let's go ahead and use a team that we just built here. So if you're going through Crusades, here's another example of how you might be able to use this team. So what I did here is I just added all honor relics, And imagine that you're playing through a wave here and how this would actually work out. So this is 5 waves. I'm not really going to go through all of them. I just wanted to sort of show you how this could work. I would imagine some people might have Domi in their leader. So in the Crusade map, this could work. So let's go ahead and do this. So for Thuella, it requires every 3 hits. But if I don't actually do the hits, what I wanted to do is I wanted to build some intensity for Domi, because what I want to do is I want to actually try and okay, so that's a second hit there. What I wanted to do is I actually wanted to generate enough intensity so that it can actually cover the whole board. Now with 3 of them going, I think I just needed to be a 180 or so. So I think the very next turn should be good. So I'm going to just use up 1 turn, and then I'll go ahead and do 1 more, and then I'm going to use Thuella now. You know what? I might as well just do an attack here just to activate Thuella's Firestorm. So you can see here, intensity is up to probably going to be up to 235, 240, and then activate Thuella. It'll generate 3 dark gems. So it'll generate a bunch of dark gems, but then I can just use Domi to actually convert all of the gems. So now I can actually use it to deal fire damage. And so this is really the situation where you have to use Domi in the deck to really make this a viable option. And since we're in the final wave, let's just go ahead and finish this up. And so if you're using the fire deck, this would be an option, and by having 3 Thuellas, you're going to have additional commander bonus as well. So that's going to help you with the damage. And so what we're going to do is in the next episode, we're going to talk about the actual cards with the event card and how the mix and matching is going to go, and we'll do that in a couple of days. So thanks for watching, thanks for the time, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.